This year's NBA playoffs has seen such an incredible amount of upsets and surprising victories, but this is a part of something much, much bigger. You've probably heard about the second apron, but what you don't know is that the NBA is headed for a recession. The NBA is headed for a big short, and it's not just going to kill the Boston Celtics. It's going to kill super teams, crush free agency, and change the NBA forever. Like, subscribe. This is your favorite basketball content site. I'm jumping straight into it. The Boston Celtics just had the worst possible ending to their season. Not only does Jason Tatum go down with an Achilles and Jaylen Brown needs to do meniscus surgery, but the Celtics couldn't put it all together this year despite having a historic payroll. The Celtics are projected with no moves and no additions to be almost $20 million over the second apron next year. And in normal years, you would say, oh, no problem, let's just do salary dump. Back in the day, you could just add a first round pick or a second round pick to a contract and boom, send them to the Charlotte Bobcats, send them to the Utah Jazz. They'll take your contracts. But this is over. Because of the second apron, this summer, only 3 teams are projected to have salary cap space. The Brooklyn Nets with over $50 million, the Detroit Pistons with 24 to 26, and then the Memphis Grizzlies with only around $6 million of room. If the Detroit Pistons don't want to take a salary dump from the Boston Celtics, that's it. It's either the Nets or nothing. And the Brooklyn Nets have the opportunity to change the NBA for the next decade plus. Let me explain how it used to work. Okay, you're a super team. You've got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, all locked up, but there's this salary cap bump. You're able to add Kevin Durant in his prime without losing a key player. You go on to win a couple championships, but then it's time to blow things up. You trade Durant away in exchange for a sign and trade D'Angelo Russell. Then you also dump Andre Iguodala to the Memphis Grizzlies. Here's the problem. None of what I just said could happen again under the new NBA. There's no more super teams coming from free agency. And once you're stuck with a super team, like the Celtics, the Suns, and the failed Milwaukee Bucks are right now, there are less and less ways to undo the damage. You want to trade for a role player with a mid-level exception? Too bad. You want to sign a buyout guy? Think of all the buyout players that had pivotal roles on championship runs. Markieff Morris was a buyout that helped the Lakers win the bubble championship in 2020. Chris Anderson, aka Birdman, was a valuable bench big for the Miami Heat during their 2013 run. Even Andrew Bogut re-signed with the Golden State Warriors in 18 and gave them minutes off the bench. None of this can happen anymore. If you're over the second apron, you lose the ability to sign players from buyouts. But probably the most punitive part of this is that they can't aggregate players in a trade. You can't combine contracts. And when you look at the rules stacked on top of the rules, you find out that these NBA teams are running out of options. Take a look at the free agents for this year. LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Chris Middleton, Julius Randle, John Collins. That's not a really good crop. But all of those players have player options. And almost all of those players will re-sign or extend instead of hitting true free agency. When you look at the real free agents, it's a really bad crop. Brook Lopez, Clint Capella, Malcolm Brogdon. Miles Turner very well may be the best actual free agent this year in a year where only 2 teams really have any cap space. But forget free agency. Where this really impacts is team mobility. If you're the Denver Nuggets, you just realize you don't have enough players that can contribute during a deep playoff run. But you also don't have the ability to add more players without going over the second apron. There's the same list of contender teams all trying to get lower in salary. There's the same list of contender teams all trying to add depth. Trying to cut 1 star into 2 or 3 role players matters so much more. And we're seeing this in the playoffs with an Oklahoma City Thunder team that plays 10 deep, and a Pacers team that is putting 11 players in pivotal playoff games, letting them all get a run, and running a Knicks team that was constructed under the old superstar starting five method into the ground. If you don't have depth, you're going to feel death in the modern NBA. The days of dumping Jordan Poole or John Collins on the cheap are over. Now every team is going to have to pay a premium to get under. So how many teams are really looking to do it? Obviously the Celtics are going to try to get lower, but so are the Bucks. With Dame Lillard out for the entire 26 season and Giannis looking elsewhere, it's going to be really hard for this Bucks team that doesn't even own its draft picks to stay competitive or fully tank. The Portland Trailblazers actually hold the key to the Milwaukee Bucks' future, holding 3 of their future first-round draft picks. If the Bucks want to tank, look for the Blazers to be involved in a third team. But oh no, we go back to the rule of you can't aggregate players. You can't combine players over the second apron. Now, this is not going to be a long-term disaster because the NBA is actually making a lot of money. The NBA has set its cap to increase by 10% every year, probably for more than the next 5 years. But this year's group of free agents, to quote an agent who talked to ESPN's Brian Windhorst, these free agents are fucked. Next year will be different. The cap's going to go up and teams will clean up their books as they deal with the new spending rules. But this year is the Great Recession. It is the big short squeeze of the NBA. And the Brooklyn Nets are holding all of the cards. The Nets have enough cap space that they can save the future of 1, maybe 2 NBA franchises. And I'll be the first person to say this. Sean Marks has not done the best job managing this Brooklyn Nets team. But by being disciplined and maintaining cap space in an era where it seems like everyone else didn't, the Nets are alone in their ability to take on bad contracts because the Detroit Pistons want to get better. Even though the Pistons have $25 million plus in cap space, they're not going to want to take dead salary or a bad player. They're not looking to take Dame Lillard's contract on and waste competitive years for Cade Cunningham. The Nets are uniquely positioned because they've already decided they want to tank in 26, and they missed out on a good draft pick in this year's draft. So the Nets intend to be bad next year. So they will be the only team signing up to take on bad contracts. And you have teams that are desperately going to be trying to get under it. The Suns, the Timberwolves, the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Cleveland Cavaliers will all be looking to shed salary. For next year, in the 26th season, the second apron is set at $207 million, and 3 teams are already over. The Celtics, the Cavaliers, and the Phoenix Suns. If you add up how much money they're already over by, it's about $36 million. It's actually more than the second most cap space team has. So you're going to see some of the most lopsided deals that you've ever seen this summer as desperate teams look to get out of long-term deals, they look to shed salary, and they look to remain competitive. What does this mean, though? When we look at all this, by the way, guys, like, subscribe, follow. When we look at all of this, what we're told is that the NBA is entering an area of parity like never before. It's going to be borderline impossible unless they change the CBA to keep a dynasty team together. You're going to see teams have to make a superstar out of the draft, keep that superstar together with role players, but it's going to be harder and harder to have super twos. It's going to be impossible to have 3 super max players, and the Phoenix Suns will go down as the last person dancing without music. Let me know what you think. What moves do you think teams should make? What team are the Brooklyn Nets going to bail out with their cap space? This is NBA Trash Talk.